Welcome to part 2 of the video series on schools of management thought, evolution of management thought over the last 100 years. We have found out in the last particular video that classical management, the scientific management, bureaucratic management and administrative management that were part of classical management had a lot of issues. They were treating humans as machines, as mechanistic machines like lemons which can be squeezed. But you know that beyond a certain point of time, even the lemon starts giving a sour taste, a bad taste. Whereas if you add to the synergies of people, if you motivate a particular person, then 1 plus 1 can equal to 11. So that is the primary thought behind the behavioral approach of management. Now, in the earlier part, we had seen that worker satisfaction was largely non-existent in the classical management theory. Classical management failed to understand that workers can also have social needs in addition to the economic needs. So, and it also failed to acknowledge that being part of a team increases the job satisfaction and output of the employees. They will give more than their 100% if they are made to feel important in a team. They will give their 100%, workers will give their 100% if they have been properly taken care of, have been properly talked to. So these were things that came up in the behavioral approach. Now, Hawthorne's studies brought to the manager's attention the critical nature of social needs of workers that led to the development of the human relations movement. It laid emphasis on leadership, motivation of people at work and the influence of the work environment, how your work environment and your social settings, the number of people whom you interact with inside of a company premises, even these can have an impact on your particular production. These were the studies that were done during this particular behavioral period. This period lasted from approximately 1925 to 1950s, the behavioral approach school of management. Now, what are the limitations? Why did behavioral school fail? Where did it fail? And why there was a need for going to another school of management? Why the modern school of management came into question? Now, there were various limitations of behavioral school. What are the limitations? We'll discuss it one by one. It did not get much support from the top management. Now, what the behavioral school used to say to the management is that you have to take care of the workers. Now, we're talking about 80 years back. Imagine 80 years back, you're going to an industrialist and saying that take care of your workers. The times were not right. The workers were not united and there was no particular voice of the workers in the system. So the industrialist, the top head of the management, the CEOs and the CMDs of the company did not take proper care of the management because they did not consider this particular thing to be an important part. Motivation to be an important part. They did not consider that motivation can improve productivity. They were not convinced about that, and that is why they did not give much support to behavioral school. Now, the second problem with behavioral school was that complexity of human behavior is very huge. No individual is equal to another individual. Every individual is unique, and to study behavior, it can take a lot of time. To master behavior and change behavior of people can take a lot of time, and that time probably people do not have when they are going to set up a company and work for profitability. It can lead to wastage of resources. So that is the biggest limitation of behavioral school. Now, it is not easy for to get people to change their mind. If they have formed a particular behavior, they will not change their mind. That was a limitation of behavioral school. Older people may resent being treated like a child. If you are asking people or employees to change their behavior, probably you will not be getting a good amount of response from those particular people. That was found. So these were the limitations what led to the formation of, or what led to the creation of the next school of thought, which is called the modern school of thought, the modern approach to management. Now, In modern approach of management, there were three particular concepts. The first one was managers use quantitative analysis. Quantitative techniques was used in solving any kind of a complex problem. Even if you find out in today's economic times, or any particular company, there is a problem, they will consult the quantitative methods. They will consider correlation analysis, statistical analysis, SPSS tool. They use a lot of tools to analyze that particular situation. A lot of quantitative techniques will start getting used. So this was one of the modern approaches of management. The second one was organizations were considered as systems. Systems as in a particular system which is composed of various subsystems. We'll be discussing it in a short while from now, but they were considered as systems which interact with the environment. The environment has impact on the system. The system is composed of various subsystems. We'll be discussing it in a short while. Just stay with me. For this particular systems approach of management, it will be absolutely clear when I make you understand through the examples that I provide. Then there was the last or the present belief that is modern approach of management is contingency thinking. Contingency thinking is basically situational thinking, that there is no universal right or wrong answer to a particular management problem. Everything depends on a situation. So these were the three modern thoughts of management which are actually being used in the current times. Now, moving on to the systems approach, we'll be discussing systems approach as we had talked about systems approach. Now, imagine human being as a system, the entire human organs as a system. The brain performs a certain particular work, the heart performs a particular system, and it is a part of a system. The liver, kidneys, lungs, stomach and intestine. These are various sub-parts, subsystems of a bigger system which is the body. Now, if the brain does not function, the heart, liver and kidneys will not function. If the heart does not function, the brain, lungs and stomach will not function. These are all interdependent on each other. That is what systems approach basically talks about. That there is a system, the industry is a system, the manufacturing unit is a system, the company is a system, and it is composed of various departments, like the heart department, the liver department, the kidneys department. In a similar way, in a company you will find the operations department, the marketing department, the finance department, the HR department. Now these are all interdependent on each other inside of a company. If one does not help the other, the company on an overall cannot grow. Just as in the human body, if the brain starts saying that I am greater than the heart, then the system will actually start declining, then the body will start declining. In a similar way, if the HR of the company starts feeling that it is superior to the marketing and the finance department, the company will start declining. So there is a need for a very synergistic relationship between all these particular systems. Only then you will get a very good result inside of the company. So basically what we are talking about inside of a company is that there is an input. The input get processed by the particular company, and there is an output. Input can be materials, components, labor, research and development. Processing can be in terms of production lines, assembly lines, management and skills. Output will be end product, customer satisfaction and employee satisfaction. Now you have to understand that whenever a particular company is functioning in this particular way, that there is an input, there is some processing that is happening, and there is an output. You have to understand that this entire thing is happening inside of a particular environment. The environment of the business also impact what the input will be, how the processing will happen, and how the output will get impacted, or how the output will actually come out. And you have to also understand that when the output is generated, the output is a feedback for the next level of production. If the customers are not satisfied with your products, then they will give a negative feedback of your products, and then your input needs to improve, your resources need to improve, your R&D needs to improve. Similarly, if your employees are not satisfied with the way you are conducting your business, they will not get satisfied, and again they will give your feedback that something needs to be done. and then again your input needs to improve. So there is a feedback mechanism which keeps on going inside of a company on a continuous basis. And the entire, in this particular picture, if you look at it, the entire white background, consider that to be the background, consider that to be the environment in which the business is being operated. Now imagine this particular background is white in color because everything is running in a proper sense. Imagine suddenly it turned into black. There are curfews in the country, there is political instability in the country, then the input, processing and output, everything will get affected. So business environment also has a very important role when we are talking about any business environment or any particular systems approach to management. So this is how input transformation process, and it results in products or services from the company. Now this video again is getting long, and we'll be trying to do it, the next part of it, in the part 2 of this particular video. Thank you.